Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1939 adventure war film Gunga Din.
Get it up there, hurry at the double. He's tired.
Hey, well, that is very true. That is fair. As a father of two young girls under the age of 3, I'm always tired. I was tired yesterday. I'm tired again today, but I'm still trying to push through and watch all the films that are in this book, The 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. We are in the late 1930s, which means there is a very good chance that Cary Grant stars in this film, and he does. So he plays a character named Cutter. We have Douglas Fairbanks Jr. as Ballantine, Sam Jaffe as Gunga Din, and Victor McLaglen as McChesney. Now, this is considered peak adventure drama. It's often regarded as one of the greatest classic adventure films ever made. It blends action, humor, and spectacle in a way that helped define the boys' adventure, and later Indiana Jones would follow the same template. It has iconic performances and star power. Cary Grant, Victor McLaglen, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. had a chemistry and camaraderie that became a model for ensemble adventure cast, and they were 3 of the biggest stars in Hollywood at the time. It's based on a poem. The film expands a relatively short poem into a full narrative, showing how Hollywood could creatively adapt literary material into large-scale entertainment. For 1939, the film's action sequences, large battle scenes, stunts, and set pieces were ambitious and influential. Its pacing and editing helped raise the bar for action filmmaking, and the film reflects British colonial attitudes in India, portraying empire and native characters through a lens that modern audiences would often critique as imperialistic and stereotypical. Now, before I started filming this, I went and counted all the Cary Grant movies that I have seen in my life. I think I'm at 13 right now. That is how much I counted. And I would say of the 13 Cary Grant films I've seen, I would probably put this somewhere in the middle. It's not my favorite film of his, but I also didn't hate it like I hated the movie Indiscreet. It's just somewhere in between, good and bad. So this movie takes place in 1880. There is a British outpost in India, which the British Army has lost contact with, so they are going to send Cutter, Ballantine, and McChesney, along with a lot of other troops, into this outpost to see what has happened, and joining them will be a water carrier named Gunga Din. Gunga Din is someone who aspires to be a member of the military. He wants to be like a hero in the military. He wants to be someone who really makes a difference and really has an impact in the lives of the British soldiers, but so far he is just a water carrier, and no one really takes him seriously because he is of Indian descent. So when they get to this outpost, they notice that the line is cut, and everyone is gone. There's no one there anymore, and eventually they run into this large army of, I think they call them Tuggies, which is a murder cult who was suppressed by the British 50 years prior, but now they have made a resurgence, and they attacked everyone who was in this outpost before, and now they are attacking Cutter, Ballantine, McChesney, and Gunga Din's army. Now there's this big fight, and there's a lot of firefight going on. There's a lot of sword play. There's a lot of punching. There's a lot of punching in this film. Cutter, Ballantine, and McChesney really love to get in fist fights and punch and really brawl. This is like a brawler's movie where they just want to fight all the time. So they eventually win this fight, but they have a bunch of losses, and they go back. And when they go back, the person who is in charge of their regiment says that they need to take even more people, and then they need to go back and they need to take the outpost back. Now, the character of Ballantine is planning on leaving the army. Or I don't know if you want to call it army. I think it's considered an army. He plans on leaving the army. He has about 6 days left, and he's going to go sell tea and get married. So he is not invited to go back into the fray, much to the dismay of Cutter and McChesney, because these guys are like best buddies. They do everything together. They do all their missions together. They brawl. They play fight. They get drunk. They do just man stuff together, and they don't want to lose their buddy Ballantine. But Ballantine is dead set on getting married and like having this like selling tea or whatever, and he does not want to be in the army anymore. He feels like he's done his service and now it's time to leave. So they're going to replace him with someone else. I don't remember the other guy's name, but they plan on replacing Ballantine with someone else. Now Ballantine ends up inviting Cutter and McChesney to his party, like an engagement party. He ends up inviting them to his engagement party. When they get there, they decide that they're going to spike the punch because this other guy who's supposed to be joining them in place of Ballantine is going to be there, and they don't want him to be there, so they're going to spike the punch with this elephant serum that they have so that this other guy gets really sick and Ballantine is forced to join them, which works. So the other guy gets really sick, and they tell Ballantine that he has to join them to this outpost because there's no one else who can do it. Ballantine says he'll do it, but he's only going to do it for like 4 or 5 more days. And once his 6 days are up and he's out of the army, he's out and he's not coming back. So he ends up going, and when they get there, they're just kind of hanging out for a while. Cutter ends up being put in the brig by McChesney, which is basically he's in jail. Gunga Din breaks him out and tells him that there's this giant temple full of gold and money and all the jewels and everything that you could ever want. Cutter is a bit of someone who is obsessed with finding gold and jewels and trinkets and things that'll make him rich. So when he hears this, it really sparks an interest in him, and he has Gunga Din break him out of jail using an elephant. They just want the elephant to remove the bars on this jail, but the elephant ends up destroying the entire jail. And they go off to this temple to get all the jewels and trinkets, and when they get there, they realize this is the place where the Tungis are hanging out, and there's quite a bit of them. Cutter ends up making this big distraction so that the Tungis will capture him, so Gunga Din can go off and tell everyone and alert everyone what's going on. When Gunga Din gets there, though, the officers, mostly McChesney, keeps interrupting him, telling him to shut up and that he's going to go by himself, and rescue Cutter. Now, Gunga Din's trying to tell him this is a bad idea, but he can't get any words in edgewise because McChesney is such a big loudmouth and is just talking so much that he's not hearing the full story. So he says he's going to go get Cutter by himself. Ballantine says he will go too, but McChesney says he can't because he's not in the service anymore. He is now considered a regular pedestrian, and he cannot take a regular pedestrian with him because there will be a lot of bad things that will happen if Ballantine gets hurt and he's not actually part of the service. So what he does is he forces Ballantine to sign this piece of paper saying that he will re-enlist into the army for another 9 years, so that he is still part of the army, but he says when all of this is over, he can rip it up and he doesn't have to join the army. He just needs some sort of paper saying that he will enlist so that he could take him. This is much to the dismay of Ballantine's wife, who is probably the only victim in this entire film, I would say. She does not want him to go because they're supposed to get married. She does not want him to go because they're supposed to start this life. He's supposed to retire. He's doing all this stuff on his own without consulting her. He's just making his own decisions about what he's going to do because he's the man of the family and because he can do what he wants because he's a guy. And he basically just tells her to go kick rocks and he's going to do what he wants. And if she really loves him, she will stand by him and let him make all these decisions without consulting her, even though they should be making these decisions themselves because they're a couple and because they're going to get married. But he just decides to do this on his own, and they go off, just McChesney and Ballantine, and I think Gunga Din. They go off to rescue Cutter. Now, of course, when they get there, they realize that the place is just swarming with Tungis, and they didn't know this because McChesney did not let Gunga Din talk and did not let him say anything. So they are also captured. So eventually, after some scrapping back and forth, the 3 men, Cutter, Ballantine, and McChesney are able to get the leader of the Tungi army separated from his men, and they go up on top of this tower, and they are basically there with him on top of this tower, and below them at the bottom of the tower are all of his men, and they are ready to shoot and fire upon Cutter, Ballantine, and McChesney if they make a single move or if they try to harm their leader. So they are basically all trapped on top of this tower. At the same time, the British Army is coming to rescue these three men, but they are coming into a trap because the Tuggies' army is massive and they know the land. They're planning to do like a guerrilla warfare type thing where they take the British army by surprise. They have it all planned out, but the Tuggy army refuses to act as long as their leader is in peril. They will not fight if their leader is not safe. So the leader decides he's going to commit suicide to get himself out of the picture, and the army can now do what they're going to do. So he commits suicide. The army is laying in wait, waiting for the British army to come. The British army is coming into a trap, and then Gunga Din is able to get on top of this tower and blow this horn to alert the British troops that they are walking into a trap. And then there's this big, huge fight. It's a massive, massive fight with horses and cannons and catapults and all types of things. And eventually the British army wins, and Gunga Din does not survive. He dies in this battle, and at the end of the movie, the officers end up making Gunga Din like an honorary member of the military, which is what he always wanted. So he gets his life switch basically after he dies. That's the entire movie, essentially. I'm going to be honest. I thought the acting in this movie was okay. I didn't think it was that great. I specifically did not like McChesney's acting, Victor McLaglen, very much. I thought for the most part he was kind of annoying. I'm not also a huge fan of these like boy type movies where you just have these men who, like, you have three guys who are just beating up everyone around them. They're able to take on like full armies almost by themselves. They're at the same time they're punching all these people, and the same guy is like fighting off another guy with a sword while he's punching people at the same time. I don't know. It just seems it's over the top, and it's not very believable. And I don't know. I didn't think it was done very well. I wasn't a huge fan of it at all. I didn't like any of these characters. Like, I didn't really care if any of these characters made it or survived or got through at all, because I thought they were all kind of bad people. Sort of. I wasn't a huge fan of Ballantine, especially because of how he was like treating his wife. I know that I'm probably missing the entire point of this film. I'm maybe reading too much into this movie, but it's just not my type of movie. I don't think. I'm just not a huge fan of it. The set pieces were great. There's a lot of huge fanfare. There's like elephants. There's tons of extras. There's the scale that this movie is built on. It's built on a huge scale. There's a lot of really fantastic cinematography in it. The sets, the shots that they take are absolutely amazing. The fight scenes are grand. The fight scenes are spectacular. You can follow them really well. Sometimes when you have these big fight scenes, it's really hard to follow who's who, what side is what, who's fighting who, who's winning. But I thought it was fairly easy to follow. I thought they did a really good job with that. It's just the whole story I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of like the three guys who are like just brawlers, who are just punching everyone and getting through life, like beating everyone and somehow skating through and being able to get through things like that. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. It's just not my type of movie. Cary Grant, I think it shows how versatile though Cary Grant is as an actor. I don't normally like him. When I watched Bringing Up Baby, I kind of changed my view on him a little bit as to where maybe I don't dislike him as much as I did, because he's doing movies like North by Northwest. He's doing comedies like Bringing Up Baby and Holiday. both which stars Katharine Hepburn. And I think the reason why I liked him so much in those films is because he starred opposite Katharine Hepburn, who was a great person to star opposite of. I thought they played off each other really well. Whereas in this movie, there's no female lead. It's just three guys. And I think that suffers. I think he needs a female lead with him. I just wasn't a huge fan of him being opposite two guys. I just didn't think it worked. I think that he needs to be the guy in the film, and he needs a girl to act opposite of him. I think that's the only way it works for me with Cary Grant. But he is a very versatile actor. He can do this. He can do North by Northwest. He can do comedies like Bringing Up Baby. He's very he does a lot of stuff, and he is a very good actor. I just don't think, for me, it didn't work in this film. I wasn't a huge fan of it. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Not my favorite, not my least favorite, but there's a lot of action in it. Like I said, a lot of great set pieces. Cinematography is really good. I love how they're able to use all the extras and all the people in the film. The people around them were great. I thought that Jaffe did a great job. I really liked Douglas Fairbanks Jr. in this film. It just didn't, the whole film for me, it just didn't work. Just wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I hope you join me next time. I'm not sure what movie I'm reviewing next time, but I think it stars Greta Garbo. So, thank you. Have a great day.